Right, hello guys. So in today's video, we're going to be going over an Arc Hunter build that I've been wanting to make for quite some time that centers around maximizing the uptime and potency of the brand new Ascension Aspect. And we're going to be talking about all the ways that we can do this in this video. So first off, I want to actually explain what goes into the build. And as you can see, we're not on Prismatic Hunter, which is a bit of a bummer. And I did try to make this work on Prismatic Hunter because Ascension is on Prismatic Hunter. But after some testing, I found that trying it on Arc Hunter actually benefits the playstyle a lot better than it ever would on Prismatic, mainly because on Prismatic there isn't really an easy way to get your class ability back very fast. There is a fragment that lets you do that, however it doesn't work when you're amplified, which is one of the main keywords that we're going to be obtaining with this setup. But with that out of the way, with this build you're going to be able to get very large AoE jolting strikes, absolutely massive amounts of damage resistance. This is the most amount of damage resistance I've actually ever seen on a build that is stacking up, large AoE grenades that also regenerate incredibly fast and have increased damage, infinite sword ammo, and also competitive DPS. So now let's talk about the build itself. So going into the subclass, we're going in with Storm's Edge as our super ability. You can sub this for Gathering Storm if you want to when it comes to a boss DPS encounter, for example, but I like running Storm's Edge because it's actually one of my favorite supers and it's pretty good for ad clear. And it's pretty fun to use. I do have Gambler's Dodge on here just in case I ever want to use it to get my melee back for God knows whatever reason. After that we have Triple Jump. Then we have Combination Blow, which is just there to regenerate our class ability energy if we wanted to get another Ascension charge back. I actually rarely caught myself doing this when I was testing this build. I rarely use the melee at all, so you could sub this for Disorienting Blow if you wanted that blind effect. But I just have this in case there's an enemy low and my Ascension isn't recharged in time and I just want to get it back instantly. I can do that with Combination Blow. Then we have Storm Grenade because Storm Grenade got a massive buff recently. It got a 20% damage buff in PvE, which actually puts it back to almost its previous levels of power before it was nerfed in the Witch Queen. Then we move on to the aspect. Here we have Flow State, which is one of the most important aspects of this entire build because it says defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. And then the second part, while you are amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly. You are more resilient while dodging and your reload speed is greatly increased. You won't be doing the dodge animation, so that resilience won't apply, but the main part is that insane ability regen. So this is actually a 200% boost to your class ability regeneration rate, which is very good for spamming Ascension because it means our class ability is coming back 3 times faster. Then of course we have the star of the show, the brand new Ascension Aspect. So for those that haven't tried this yet, basically while you are airborne, if you press your air move, you will then do a twirling attack into the air that jolts nearby enemies, makes you amplified, and also does a little bit of AoE damage. Basically the whole gist is we want to be spamming this as much as we can. So the first part of the puzzle is having Flow State, which gives us that 3x class ability regen, and then we move on to the fragments, which can help us with that a little bit more. So first off, we have Spark of Shock, which makes it so our arc grenades jolt targets. Now this is going to feed into the other arc fragment here, Spark of Ions, which makes it so defeating a jolted target creates an ionic trace. Now ionic traces, when you collect them, give a small amount of ability energy to all of your abilities. I believe it's around 10%. I'll have the value up on screen, but this is just another way of fueling back our dodge energy after every time we use it. And then between those, we have Spark of Amplitude, which makes it so rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified creates an orb of power. This can be from any source. It's just another way of getting orbs, which will fuel the mods that we're going to use for the build that I'll talk about in just a moment. And then finally we have Spark of Resistance, a very, very potent fragment, which makes it so that when we are near 3 or more enemies, it will give us a 25% damage resistance, which is very nice because we're going to be playing very aggressive with this build because we want to be using Ascension right in enemies' faces. So moving on to weapons and armor, I've gone for a rocket sidearm in the top slot, which is mainly there to deal with ranged enemies or more dangerous enemies like Vex Wyverns, for example. I also have Still Hunt on here to ensure that the DPS of the build is still fairly competitive because as you can see from a clip that I recorded a week ago, I hit a ton of damage on Greg with just Still Hunt and Nighthawk, and you can do this on an Arc Hunter because you don't need to be on Solar Hunter with Nighthawk in order to have the Nighthawk effect on Still Hunt. So this is very good for DPS, just having it there. You can swap this for an Ergo Sum with Wolf Packs if you want to give Wolf Packs to your Summum Bonum, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But yeah, you can switch between these interchangeably, or if you have the new Rainbow crafted like I can, it actually gets the new perk Strategist in the left column and also Vault Shot. I'm sure you've seen people talk about Vault Shot on this bow. It's just another way of making us ionic tracers to refuel our Ascension, but it also gets Strategist, which makes it so when we get kills, it gives us a small amount of class ability energy. So again, this is kind of up to you. In my testing, I never found this was actually worth it because I was never actually getting that many kills with my bow, but I just thought I'd mention it anyway. Finally, like I just mentioned, we're using the brand new raid sword, the Summum Bonum, and the perk combo I have on this weapon is Tireless Blade, which makes it give you sword ammo for every other powered sword kill, which just gives us a little more ammo to the sword because we're going to be using the sword a lot, I can tell you that. And then we have the brand new perk Chaos Reshaped, which is a very good damage perk, which for those of you who don't know, after being in combat for 24 seconds, it will give you a damage buff of 35% for as long as you are still in combat, which is a very large damage bonus. It is the same as pre-nerf bait and switch and is 5% higher than current bait and switch. So we just have this for the damage and also the playstyle that I'm going to talk about. It is also a waveframe sword, which has a couple unique properties that make the playstyle of this build very fun, and you'll see that in just a moment. So finally, the most major component of this build is the brand new Arc Hunter chest piece, the Gifted Conviction. Now, this chest piece has the exotic perk, the Gift of Certainty, which makes it so activating Ascension or Tempest Strike throws bouncing explosives at nearby targets that jolt and damage them. Jolting nearby targets gives you damage resistance. Now, both of those effects are very potent, especially the damage resistance portion. The first part is very nice, it just adds a little bit of extra damage to our Ascension, but really the damage resistance is the staple part of this exotic. In fact, if you stack this all the way to 4 times, which is the maximum, it is a 50% damage reduction from all sources. It uses the general resist buff that other sources can give, like the Stag for example, but this time it lets you stack it all the way to 4 times. And the way you get stacks of resist is by applying individual instances of Jolt. This can be from any source, it can be from weapons. The most common way you'll be doing this is from Ascension, but you'll also be doing it from your grenade because we have Spark of Shock, if you remember. So if you think about it, we have 25% resistance from Spark of Resistance, we have 50% from Gifted Conviction, and then another 30% from Tier 10 Resilience. So if you put those all together, you actually end up with an insane amount of damage resistance. It's probably one of the highest amounts of damage resistance that you can build into with such little effort. All you need to do is apply Jolt and also be near enemies, which you're going to be doing all the time with this build. Speaking of stats, the ones that you want to prioritize for this build are Resilience first, then Mobility, and then Discipline. Resilience for that maximum 30% damage resistance, then Mobility to reduce the cooldown of our dodge to its minimum. Unfortunately, I only have 90 here, but 90 or 100 is fine, and then as much Discipline as you can get to reduce the cooldown of your grenade even more. When it comes to the mods for the build, there isn't really a huge amount that goes into this, however there are a couple that I want to highlight. So starting with the helmet, we just have Arc Siphon on here to make orbs whenever we get double kills with our Summon Bonum, and we also have Heavy Ammo Finder and Heavy Ammo Scout should we ever make ammo from the kills that we're getting. On our gloves we have Firepower to make an orb every time we get a kill with our grenade, which will just feed into our orb loop a little better, and then we have the 2 class ability regeneration mods on the arms, which are Focusing Strike and Bolstering Detonation, which make it so whenever we deal damage with our melee or our grenade, it will give us a little bit of class ability energy, which just feeds into Ascension once again. On the chest piece, I've opted not to have a mod such as Concussive Dampener because of the amount of resist that we're getting from other sources, so I've just gone for a charged up here to give us 4 armor charges and then a couple other general resist mods. By that same logic, you could replace one of these resist mods with another charged up if you wanted, but that's up to you. Then for the boots, we have stacks on stacks to make it so every time that we get an instance of armor charge, it doubles it, which just makes going to 4 charges a lot easier, and then a couple mods to help with the health regeneration of the build, because on Arc Hunter, unfortunately, there isn't anything that makes us heal, so we kind of have to rely on orbs and mods like Recuperation and Better Already. In lower level content, you can sub these for Ammo Scavengers or another mod such as Elemental Charge. In fact, I would actually replace Better Already for Elemental Charge purely because of the reduction in cost it gets with the artifact this season, and because we're going to be making so many Ionic Traces, you might as well. This is just going to give that armor charge to you a lot faster. And then finally, on the class item, this is important. Here we have 2 stacks of utility kickstart, which I will again throw the numbers up on screen, but basically when we cast our class ability, having 2 of those and 4 armor charges will give us a good chunk of our class ability back whenever we use it. I believe visually it's around 2/5 or slightly above 1/3, so it just gets us to that next ascension a lot faster. So after we get that initial bump from the kickstarts, that's when the flow state regeneration fills builds up the rest in around, you know, 5 to 10 seconds. And then we have Bomber here for reducing our grenade cooldown whenever we use Ascension, just to give our storm grenades a little bit more uptime. Finally, taking a look at the artifact, I have the authorized mod Elemental Charge, which, like I said earlier, reduces the cost of Elemental Charge, just lets us run a little bit more mods on our boots. After that, I have Overload Sword because we're going to be using the sword a lot. Elemental Siphon is also quite important because this will make it so whenever we get a double kill with our sword, it will have a chance to spawn an Ionic Trace, which is just yet another source of Ionic Traces, which then feeds into Ascension once again. As you can see, there's quite a lot of ways that I've thought up of basically putting as much effort into regenerating your next Ascension as possible. And you'll see in the gameplay in just a moment that it is pretty rapid. The rest of the column 3 mods aren't really important. After that, we have Blade Stamina, another important mod, which basically makes it so that whenever we get 3 rapid kills with a sword, it will give us 3 ammo back, which basically makes it so you can have infinite ammo with a sword. We also have another important mod here, Galvanic Armor, which makes it so whenever we are on an Arc or Prismatic subclass, it will make us have more damage resistance while we are amplified, and we're going to be amplified all the time. Finally, in column 5, we have Argent Blade, which is going to give us that 15% extra sword damage and charge rate whenever we have armor charge. It is going to spend an armor charge, but we're going to be getting it back so fast you won't even notice that it's being spent, so you might as well take the extra damage. Lastly, we have Shield Crush, which makes it so when you are amplified or radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. This is going to give us more damage to our storm grenade and make it regenerate quicker. Okay, so what actually is the loop of the build? What does it actually look like? So I've come to the -15 loss sector in Neomuna. I think this is a pretty good testing ground to see how this build performs. So what I'll do is I'll just find a group of enemies like this. I'll pop Ascension. I'll get the damage resist. I'll pick up an orb if I find one. As you can see in the bottom left, the regen rate is pretty insane. I'll have it back in about 1 second. There it is. Come to the next group. Pop Ascension again. Basically kills the entire group. I can maybe melee this guy to get it back instantly with combination blow. Then the next group, Ascension again. Pop a storm grenade down. Why not? Kill him. I can still hunt this guy because he's a little healthier. Pick up that orb. Then I have the next Ascension back already. I can pop it again. I've got the resist. Didn't make an orb that time, but I've almost got the next one. Should be there in about a second. There we go. There's the next one. Pick up the orb. Then I'll maybe just get a couple kills here. I have the super now, so I'll just pop it on these guys. I'll save the super for later. I'll just try and spam Ascension as much as possible. There's the combo blow again. And here I'll pop another one. And then I can start maybe getting some sword kills, which will get some more Ionic Traces coming to me. And then I'll pop it again here. If it doesn't kill them, I'll get the kills with the sword. Almost have the next one. I'll come up to the next group. Just wait a second or two. Pop it again. Sword this guy. Dash to him. I love that about the wave sword. That little dash attack. It's wonderful. I'll pop it again here. Kill almost the whole group. Sword him. Dash to you. And I have it back again. So, yeah, that's basically the loop. You kind of pop your Ascension near enemies, and then use either your Arc Sword or some other ability to get some Ionic Traces getting printed, and then they will feed into your next Ascension. You could also use your combination blow to get it back instantly, because it will recharge very fast because of the traces that you're getting. So it's basically just ability spam, and it looks pretty cool. You get a ton of damage resist, and you also have a huge amount of AoE. Right, so if some of you are still not convinced, I've come to the Witch Queen second to last mission that I also test some builds on, and this is -15 by the way, so let's just do a little playthrough with the build. So yep, I'll just come to this first group. I'll pop Ascension on them here. That'll spawn me 1 or 2 orbs. There's one there. Probably just get rid of this wizard quickly. Oh, there's an Ionic Trace, give me that.
Found the one in charge around here.
Sword to her. Pop another Ascension. Using my resist back and my orbs. Sword him. Dash. Got my Ascension back. Pop it again. Also notice this whole time I have a lot of sword ammo left. You basically never run out with the combo of Tireless Blade and those artifact perks. We'll just wait for the group to respawn here. You know what, I'll just pop a super on her just to kind of get her low. We'll do Ascension here. Pop a storm grenade down. Uppercut you. Those moths, man. That's the only thing you gotta watch out for with this. Get her out of the picture. Bunch more ads. Ascension again. Super satisfying. Sword. Almost got the next one back. There it is. And then into the last room. We'll kill this guy quick. Dash to him. Ascension again, because I will get it back. See, there it is. It's back already. And Ascension again here. Kill those Jolt procs. Give me that orb. Uppercut. Dash. Deal a bit of damage to the witch. More ads again. Ascension again. Dash to these. Storm grenade. Why not? My orbs back. Ascension again. And she's dead. So yeah, that's basically the whole build. I hope you guys enjoyed. The dim link to this build will be in the description if you want to try it. I also just want to leave a couple notes regarding the sword and the builds themselves, because you may have a few questions about the DPS. So like I mentioned at the beginning, you can swap your Storm's Edge for Gathering Storm if you're in a more DPS focused encounter like the Witness, for example. And like I said earlier, you can have two separate loadouts, one with Gifted Conviction and another with Celestial Nighthawk, because you don't have to be on a Solar Hunter in order to benefit from the Nighthawk shot with Still Hunt. It doesn't matter what class you're on. As long as you have Nighthawk equipped, it will give you that single shot. So like I have here, this is the build that I have for just running around having fun. And then when it comes to damage, I swap to this loadout that has Nighthawk on it with surges and dexterities and targeting mods, so on and so on. And I guarantee you I will still be one of the top damage people on the team. And then finally, a note about the sword. Unfortunately, I don't have this crafted. This just so happened to be the role that I had in my vault. You can sub Tireless Blade for Strategist, because like I said earlier, with the bow, Summum Bonum also gets Strategist, which means that in between your Ascension procs, with the kills that you get with your sword, they will give you around 11% energy to your class ability when enhanced. So just getting a couple kills with your Summum Bonum after your initial Ascension proc will speed up the process to the next one even more if you had Strategist on this weapon. You can make the argument for Tireless Blade if you want to keep on spamming the sort of sword playstyle. If you couldn't tell already, I've kind of gone for a sort of samurai swordsman look with the fashion. For any that are curious, this is the fashion. I will also have it pinned somewhere in my Discord if you want to come in and have a look. But yeah, that's basically what I was getting at. It's a sort of swordsman type, agile, staff wielding warrior, and I think it fits the fantasy pretty well. So please give this build a try, guys. It's really fun. I think you will enjoy it. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Your support means the world. And if you're really into the content I create, consider becoming a member of the channel, which not only lets you support me in the best way possible, it also nets you a whole host of awesome perks along with it. A massive shout out to these members up on screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewer.